And now, the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brandon Staton and Tyler Hansbrough.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the SleepHawk Worldwide Podcast. This is Sleep Dawg with the Big Hawk.
What's up, everybody? Man, hey, Sleep, I'm glad to be back in the pod, in the studio with you virtually. Got a great pod, a lot of things to discuss. Lots happening, and we better enjoy it while it lasts because we're about to enter no man's land, or the most boring time of the year.
I just backdrop here, look like I'm in solitary here in my spare bedroom in my house, still under construction. But
Wow.
Yeah, dude, we got yeah, exactly. Nothing going on in this room except the pod. It sure ain't the nest. They ain't been there in a while. We got all kinds of NBA to get to, so I realize that really, sort of ostracizes about 80% of our fan base, but nonetheless, NBA is clicking on all cylinders, and this is the last little bit of sports we got left for a while, so enjoy it. We're going to get into that. Freaking Heat, dude. Last night, pulled it out. Just smoked the Celtics. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Game 6. I think they might have got robbed in Game 6. We'll get into that. Elliott Cadeau, reclass coming into school next year. We just found out right before we went in a pod. Caleb Love going to Arizona. Speaking of Heat, so we'll see what he's got going on. Should Caleb Martin have been the MVP? We'll talk about that. We're going to ask AI, not Allen Iverson, but artificial intelligence, something that lacks on this show, so we had to generate it artificially. Who will win the finals? And maybe a few other things, man. You never know. Oh, is LeBron going to retire? Should the Spurs trade the number one pick? We'll get into all kinds of stuff. Anyway, only thing that people really going to care about here at Big Hawk is your feeling on Carolina. And, we get this kid coming in. He's 5-star. He's supposed to be, dude, I like I said, like 3 weeks ago, I'm just mailing it in right now. Show me when the season starts. But, what do you know about this kid? Sheed, our buddy Sheed, real true fans. Remember when Sheed just gave you a couple lead pipe locks everybody lost the farm on about 2 years ago? Sent us this very weird picture today of him watching Cadeau live in action. But he knows about as much of them as I do. So what do you got? What do you know about him?
Elliott Cadeau is a dynamic point guard, true point guard, and he is a 5-star recruit that is reclassifying to play for UNC next year. This will change the dynamic of the team. This will give us another primetime player. It's good because we can move RJ over to the shooting guard, and I'm expecting RJ to have a big year next year. I thought, going off of this year, he was our most improved player. I thought he added a lot to his game, and he is more consistent. So that's the one guy I'm really looking forward to watching this year. But Cadeau is going to be big time for us. He can pass, he can play. He's a 5-star, and he's going to give us, three big time players. You have RJ Davis, who I'm expecting to have a big year. You have Armando, and now you have Elliott Cadeau. Probably saying his name wrong, but he's going to be a big time player. No disrespect. I can't even say Hansbrough. But the other news, Sleep, is Caleb Love. We all know issues getting into Michigan, whatever the real reason was, will never really be understood by me, at least. But he's going to Arizona to play for Tommy Lloyd, and also longtime UNC Tar Heel assistant Steve Robinson. So wishing him the best of luck in Tucson. I think Tucson's a great place. They were definitely on the rise. Obviously, they got upset this year, I think, by Princeton in the tournament early on. But they have some players. They're going to be a good team. I think it was going to be a really good fit for them because they desperately needed point guards. And the guy Kerr, who is a big-time player for Arizona, also transferred. So it looks like he's going to step right in and play big for Arizona.
You know what might have happened? He might have heard the pod, because one of the first things you said when we found out he was going to Michigan was like, hey, buddy, you're going to get cold up there, And like, dude, not only is he not going to get cold because he's not going to Michigan, but he's not going to get cold because he's going to be in Arizona. He's never going to be cold again. So, hopefully for Caleb's sake, he gets hot from the 3-point line and, gets a little, good rebound on his resume. You know what I mean? Headed into to next year's draft class. It is cool. I forgot about Steve Robinson being there. So maybe there's I think for all intents and purposes, like it's very overblown that somehow I guess Caleb didn't like Carolina. I mean, maybe he just felt like there was a better opportunity for him somewhere else. And we've talked a lot about it, and we continue to talk a lot about all this sort of stuff because that's just unfortunately where we are right now. But I hope he does great, man. Let's say play Carolina, but I think it's a unique place for him to end up. It's a big time program. Like you said, they're on the rise. So I don't know, man. If you put me in a vacuum and said, would you rather play at Arizona or Michigan? I'd rather play at Arizona. So good for him.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, West Coast, it's a great campus, good weather year round. And also you got to think about this, Sleep. Caleb was actually recruited by Coach Williams. And so he came here to play for Coach Williams. And, maybe Coach Robinson was helping with that recruiting process. I'm not really sure. But, so I'm always in for a kid wanting a fresh start. It seemed like he was taking a lot of the pressure and a lot of the heat overall, which if you come to a big-time program, you believe me, you're going to be under a microscope and you got to be able to take that. But sometimes you just need a fresh start, and it's good for the mentals, and maybe he can do whatever he wants to accomplish at Arizona and, be happy doing that. So I wish him nothing but the best there.
I saw some other commentary, a lot of it around him has been that, he's taking bad shots and he doesn't shoot well and all this sort of stuff. But then part of that is like, he gets stuck running the offense. You got the ball, 30 feet from the basket with 6 seconds on the shot clock. Somebody's got to shoot the ball. Yeah. And I think the one thing I always liked about Caleb, who is still one of the players I like more. I wouldn't say he's one of my favorite players, but he's definitely one of my favorite players on the team the last few years. Yeah, he wasn't afraid, man. So he's getting all that talking. He wasn't going to stop shooting the ball. So everybody, made him out to be this guy that only really cared about himself. And, if you really kind of think about it, man, well, there ain't no time left to shoot it. Somebody's got to do it. And he wasn't afraid. So I always appreciate that. And I'll never forget what he gave us back there year before last. So a lot of people seem to have, but, obviously wish him the best.
Yeah, and I can say this, Sleep. I know Caleb. Caleb's a good kid too. So it's not like he had an attitude problem or something like that. Every time I saw him, he was respectful to me, so I respect kids like that nowadays. So I wish him nothing but best. I know he did put the work in too. So I wish him, all the best.
Hope he bounces back.
Yeah.
Speaking of bouncing back, dude, Heat game last night. You serious? Did you watch this? Like man, it's a struggle. These 8:30 tips, dude. I can't tell you how many times I fall asleep during the game, and only to wake back up at a later stage of the game and just be really surprised that I woke up before tomorrow morning. The Heat just throttled them last night, dude. The big couple questions I had for you is let's start with. I wonder if we want to start with Game 7. First play of the game, basically. Jason Tatum comes down, rolls his ankle. I'm not exactly an athlete anymore, but it looked kind of inconsequential. I'm not saying it didn't hurt. I'm not saying but it wasn't like he just had high ankle sprain and was out there just, Willis Reed. How much do you think that impacted him last night? Because he sucked. The Celtics sucked all around, but Tatum was basically I think he had 14 points last night in Game 7. This guy's supposed to be on the come up. And I'm sorry, dude, you roll your ankle. Look, what I would have done is two things. One, so they weren't treating him on the sideline. They weren't wrapping it, He didn't even stop and tie his shoes tighter. And then, it just seemed like when he was missing shots, he was kind of limping around. Now, if I was him, what I would have done is I'd have left the damn stadium and showed up at my press conference in a walking boot on crutches, all that shit. Make it sound like. But he kind of blamed it on that in the interview. Basically said he was like a shell of himself. And I don't know, man. I just felt like, dude, you went down 3-0. You were nowhere to be found while you were healthy in the fourth quarter. Yeah, you came back and then you just got smoked at home. I don't know, man. I like Jason Tatum, but I felt like he kind of backed down from the challenge and maybe used that ankle injury as more of an excuse than probably it should have been.
Listen, Sleep Dog, one of my all-time favorite NBA moments is NBA Finals. Paul Pierce. I think it was an ankle. Do you remember that? Goes down.
Oh yeah,
in the
he's
finals.
lucky to survive that one.
They wheel him out in a wheelchair. Wheel him out in a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
Then all of a sudden, just like something out of a Rocky movie, he comes running back out, and you could see the stadium just like you could just see everyone, getting up into it. And that, to me, that's a legend. Okay, that's not that is a superhero. Okay, Paul Pierce. And here's what people want in Boston. They want Jason Tatum to be Paul Pierce like. He's not that good yet. And I get he's going to be really, really good. And he'll probably be maybe better than Paul Pierce, but he is not Paul Pierce right now. And he's not on that level. Okay, so the one thing that is frustrating is I do think it affected him. And clearly it did because he didn't have the best game. But listen, when you're that player, okay, you've got to be able to take the heat from the media and from other people who say, man, dude, why didn't you show up? Okay, you're paid like that. Okay, Paul Pierce, okay, you know what he did? You know, he played through that sprain and became like that. I mean, that's why he's Paul Pierce. That story just grew and grew. And, man, I really wanted the Celtics to win because
you called it.
Well, it makes me look a hell of a lot smarter. A lot of people looked like me. I was dumb. I had a lot of ammo in there. I was going to ask you if Charlotte won it. But
oh God,
there's this one thing I really do like Joe Mazzulla for the Celtics, their head coach right now, and I really feel like he's taking a lot of criticism.
Yeah,
but I think a lot of it comes down to the players too. Jaylen Brown didn't have all that good of a game. He had a lot of turnovers. Jason Tatum, I mean, he didn't play his best. Obviously, we're sitting here talking about how bad he played. Regardless of the ankle sprain, you play. Okay, I don't want to hear about how bad your injury is. Okay, to my guy Mad Dog on ESPN talking about if you play the game, okay, injured, I don't want to hear about how injured you were and why you couldn't perform. Okay, you're the superstar. You figure a way out how to have a positive impact on the game. Also, I didn't like the fact that the Celtics just settled for threes. Obviously, they weren't making threes, so they kept missing more. I just felt like this new era of where everyone thinks that they can just duplicate what two of the greatest shooters ever play the game, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Everyone thinks that their model is like a one-size-fits-all. No, it's not, okay? Okay, they don't have Marcus Smart, a lockdown guy like him. So why would you have somebody like him shooting so many threes? I think this NBA where everyone feels like they got to hemorrhage threes, it's just bad basketball to me. And you have guys that can do other things besides shoot threes, and you take away a lot of their good qualities and you just put them behind the 3-point line. Like Al Horford, obviously without Bam in the game, they had a mismatch in the post. They did not expose that. And also I think they didn't really play. I felt like they should have played Robert Williams and Al Horford at the same time. I think Williams had a huge impact on the game, his rim protection. And I think Al Horford, he can shoot the mid-range. I don't care about the analytics. Okay, the guy's made hundreds of millions of dollars shooting that mid-range. And now the analytics tell him to go, step behind the 3-point line. No, cater to your guys, adjust, okay? That is also on Mazzulla as well. But Spoelstra, he's a veteran coach, experienced. He knows what to do in this position. So obviously it shows why the media was so critical of the Celtics coach. But, man, I really wanted the Celtics to pull it out, but they just no-showed it.
It's weird. I don't even dislike the Celtics. I don't dislike Jason Tatum. I think you brought up a good point. Like, I don't, it's not fair to question whether he's never been the kind of guy that's been like a bitch. So, I mean, I believe he was hurt, but I'm like you. It's like, all right, if you're hurt, play, and or if you're playing hurt, play. And then I just felt like the right answer to that question post game is, hey, I'm not gonna make any excuses. Like, everybody sees that you're hobbled or whatnot, but it's just one of those things, man. Like, you feel like you got to play through. I thought Mazzulla did a good job during regular season. I think in this series in particular, you saw that those guys, like, they're top heavy, man. They have really, really good role players, but they don't have like that middle. I mean, Marcus Smart, okay, like Robert Williams, okay, but like they don't have that middle guy like Derek White. I guess he could generate offense on his own, but he doesn't scare anybody. Like you get a couple guys on these guys, like on even on Miami, which is even thinner, deeper in the roster. But like, if they had Tyler Hero, he's the kind of dude to just go off, right?
Mhm.
Like even Max Strus is a guy that can just go off, and some of these guys are shooters, like pure true shooters. And where I think Boston, it relies more on physicality. And to your point, I thought Robert Williams I think he's a great player, great post presence. He reminds me of like, your kind of quintessential dude that's maybe a little undersized. I don't know how tall he is, but he just hustles. He's always around the rim at the right time, making the right plays. He's a great defender. And he seemed kind of, an afterthought in the grand scheme of things. And when those guys' threes weren't falling, it was like, let's just shoot more. And then you could tell the mentality was like, hey, they got to start falling eventually. And I'm no savant, but I was watching Jaylen Brown, and his like form didn't even look good. Like he didn't even his shooting motion mechanics just seemed like so out of whack that it wasn't really. I mean, those dudes weren't just like rimming shots out, dude. They were like they were shooting balls that were like hitting the other side of the backboard. So yeah, I mean, it was a struggle, and yeah, Boston is weird, man. Like I there's something to me between the Jaylen Brown and Tatum thing. I like Jaylen Brown a lot. I really do like Jason Tatum too. But something's missing there, and they don't have. I don't think either one of those guys is like a superstar, I think. I mean, Tatum, yeah, you could argue, but I mean, dude, I could give you, I mean, who would you rather have, Giannis or Tatum, Embiid or Tatum, LeBron, Steph, I think you're going to pick a lot of guys, Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler right now. I mean, I think a lot of people for the series would say they'd rather have Tatum, and Jimmy didn't play that great in a lot of games, but, he's just kind of exudes more poise and leadership, and everybody rallies around that dude. So it was an interesting series and an interesting way to close it out. I thought Game 6 was the real game, and that to me was just wild how all that went down. I mean, I felt like the NBA, I was like, bro, the NBA had a meeting with these referees before this game, try to make sure that it was a Game 7. Because there was some calls down the stretch where I was just like, and I don't give a shit who wins this game, to be honest with you. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, how in the hell are like some of these calls getting made? And then that whole ordeal with Jimmy getting fouled and them adding time back on the clock and not quite starting it as soon as the ball was inbounded. I mean, I don't think that last shot should ever happen. But, maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist. But that was, regardless of whether it should have happened or not happened, that was one of the best games I've ever seen, period. That shit was wild.
Yeah, it had me on my toes. I love that game. It was everything that fans wanted. I looked at that play, and I thought the NBA, we can disagree on this one. I thought there should have been 3 seconds, but also I really do like the fact that everything had to happen perfectly. Usually when you have a long shot like that, there's a long rebound, long shot, long rebound. It's an old saying in basketball, but that shot was probably one of the softest shots that Marcus Smart shot his whole life, because the bounce, usually you don't get that bounce, especially off a three. And so it was a luck thing, but yeah, that game from start to finish was an amazing game. And honestly, I thought the Celtics almost just blew it because it seemed like they had a pretty good lead. And then Miami just kept chipping away. And then Jimmy made all 3 of those free throws.
Jimmy free throw.
Oh, yeah. But it was
dog method.
Man, it was a hell of a series except for Game 7. Game 7 never lived up to what it should have been. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was it just goes to show, man, how hard it is. I mean, this is the first time in the history of Game 7s where the team was down 3-0 and forced one. There's only been 4 of those. And it was the first time that team had a home court advantage, and Boston had it. And now you got an 8 seed facing Denver's the 1 seed out of the West, right? I mean, this is a seesaw right here, and it's like fat kid on one side of the seesaw, and not fat kid on the other side, because Denver is a heavy favorite. They got to be. You know, Adebayo and Jokic, I like Adebayo a lot, but I don't know how they're going to stop that dude. And they got so much size to Miami's. Now, the thing about it is, let's just get into it, right? Is like Miami, everybody keeps writing them off. I mean, nobody thought they were going to beat Boston. Nobody thought they were going to beat any of these people. So, you know, there's something to be said for playing with a chip on your shoulder. But I'm gonna just jump right back on that train. I love Jimmy. I hope they win it all. I really do. I'm rooting for them, but I don't see it, you know. And I don't know how they can win a game.
Sleep. This will not last more than 5 games. They're gonna blow they're gonna blow them out the water. Game 1. Okay. First of all, they're going to altitude. Okay. Miami just got through with a 7-game series. Denver is on rest. They're all healthy. Okay. Miami's probably flying out there today. Okay. They're tired. Now they're about to add altitude into it. So if you look at Denver's record on back-to-backs where a team plays a game, then flies into Denver the next day and plays, Denver's probably about an 80% winning percentage on those games at home because of the altitude. I think they're just going to destroy them. I think all that's going to play a factor. I think game 1's going to be a blowout. I think game 2 will be pretty close. And then they're going to go down to, is it 3-2? Do they split the games, or is it 2-2-1-1 still?
I think it's 2-2-1-1.
All right, 2-2. So they're going to go to Miami for game 3. Miami
What's your favorite outfit?
What?
2-2.
They'll split a game, maybe in Miami. Then they'll come back home and win it in Denver. That's my prediction. I don't even think it's going to be a series. I think they'll have a couple close games.
Yeah, I asked AI. They gave me Denver in 6, but I asked them to give me a game-by-game breakdown, and they broke it down 7 games, and they said that the Heat were the defending champions. So I don't know how much I believe what they're saying. 6 is kind of – they also called Jokic the best player in the world, and I think there's an argument to be made for that right now. Yeah, there's just no answer for that guy. And Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Porter, I mean, their team is stacked. The truth is I don't see, you know, unless they're sort of like out of rhythm. There's some argument to be made for like you got too much rest, and Miami is just, you know, staying in routine. Okay, fine. Jimmy guaranteed Game 7 win. They won. Miami booked the flight to Denver before Game 7 even started. That was all in the news. So, I mean, look, man, these guys are supremely confident. It would be got to be one of the bigger upsets in the history of sports if they pull this off. But I'm with you, man. Like, I want to see it happen, but I don't see it happening. It's the end of the road here. Denver, I guess this will be their first championship. You can go ahead and chalk it up. I mean, this is going to be their first championship in the history of their franchise. Nuggets in 4.
Wow.
Ain't no stopping them.
Swept.
Yeah.
Sweep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, man. Sports are over for the summer. So,
we got the Stanley Cup.
Oh, yeah. How much of that are you going to watch? Yeah. I'd rather not.
It's in Vegas. In Florida.
Yeah, that's about all it's got going for it. You think LeBron could actually retire?
No way. This guy's got to have a farewell tour. You think LeBron would retire without having a farewell tour?
Dude, LeBron's humble, man.
Oh, my God.
LeBron's humble.
Oh, my God. This dude is not going to retire. He wants to go out the way Kobe did. He wants a lot of attention. I don't see this guy ever going out without anything else. I mean, Tim Duncan went out. Coach Williams went out the right way. But guys nowadays, man, these great players, they want to have, like, especially somebody like LeBron, they want to have everybody kind of congratulate them, which he deserves if he wants that. And he's done enough for the NBA. So he should get it, but I don't see him retiring without a farewell tour. No way.
Dude, he was like top 10 player in the league this year. That's why he's not retiring. I mean, he's still good. I mean, and they're talking about all these trade scenarios to get him to Golden State. Like, I could see him doing some shit like that, trying to lobby for a trade to get somewhere where he knows he's got a better chance to win. But it is kind of funny to think about, like, and also I think he got a lot of criticism for saying that and kind of taking the attention off of,
Mellow.
Denver and all that other stuff, Melo. But I think it was a natural reaction to a question right after a game. Like, you just gassed after you're 38 years old. You're still doing what you're doing. You're the only reason this team's where they are. If you're a human being, you got to feel like, man, I don't know if I want to do this shit anymore. So, I don't fault him for saying that. I don't necessarily think that there was some underlying message. And if there was, it was probably, right up there with him understanding, how to lobby for getting what he wants from the people that need to think that's an opportunity, man. He's not stupid. So, I think LeBron will probably play 5 more years, dude. He'd probably be out there in a wheelchair.
I've said this before. If I'm LeBron, I would do the same thing. Okay. And the reason I say that is because, listen, Anthony Davis hasn't been the guy that everyone thought he was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put that out there. Yeah, he puts up really good stats, but he hasn't been this guy that's taken all the pressure off LeBron. Anthony Davis at this point in LeBron's career should be the best player for the Lakers. Okay, LeBron shouldn't have to carry this heavy load. Okay, that's why they need to bring in a guy like Damian Lillard who will do that. Okay, I don't care if they trade Anthony Davis. Okay, trade Anthony Davis, get Damian Lillard, and then I would say even get like a low tier like NBA star. I don't know who I'm not saying get Jaylen Brown, but somebody around that. And I think you have a contending team with those players. I really do, Sleep. I think he needs an all-star to take that workload off to allow him to keep playing. And then when it comes playoff time, then you can ask LeBron to be the LeBron that, is paid the big bucks.
Yeah, I mean, he's a creator. He's a facilitator. Offense runs through him and that sort of stuff. And, like, Davis is great. I think Davis is a good player when he's healthy and when he's playing well. But he doesn't check all the same boxes that LeBron does. And to your point, like, that team relies on LeBron to create. And, getting some support there with a guy, shot clock's running down. Like, I mean, sure, AD can pull one from 3, but he ain't supposed to be out there.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, you get another guy that can fill that void. And I think you're right. I think we said this maybe last part of the pod before, like, LeBron needs to be in a situation right now where he's the second option, maybe even the third option. Right. And there's some really good teams. There's some teams with some really, really good players. I mean, Chris Bosh was a great third option. It's not like it's a downgrade, and LeBron is going to be freaking 40, dude. So, it's not reasonable to say he needs more around him at this stage of his career. I mean, he took this team to the brink here, and dude's just been really good for a really long time. So I don't really care what shit people have to talk about him. I don't know, man. There ain't a whole lot going on in the NBA landscape, or in the sports landscape besides the NBA. Golf is a snoozer. Football is like way too far off in the distance.
I got a question for you. Your guy,
Yeah.
Bob Myers, you've been texting me on this.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and explain what's going on, because you've got an interesting theory on this.
So Bobby's out of there. So he's the general manager, architect of the dynasty, right? Bob Myers, general manager, just had a little presser today. I don't know if he's even actually had the presser, but Shams just swooped in, told you he's leaving. So the question everybody's asking, is this the end of the dynasty, right? And I was reading a couple articles, and I saw a really interesting, actually it was a comment. It wasn't from anybody, a tweet or anything, but somebody said they think he's leaving now, or surmise that he might be leaving now because he don't want to be the guy responsible. He knows that team's got to break up, and he don't want to be the one responsible for it. And I thought that was a good take on it. I just think that, yeah, they're in on this 2 timeline thing, and I think the challenge is that, the team is at a crossroads. It's like you got one of the greatest players that ever lived. Do you mortgage the future and just win as many as you can now, or do you hang on and develop these guys that you've got? And it's very apparent with Wiseman, with Moody, with Kuminga, that they're not invested enough in that option, right? They got one foot in, like halfway in. And I think Myers realizes that, the end is coming, regardless for that dynasty, and he's smart enough, I think, to kind of quit while he's ahead and get somewhere else where he can kind of recreate that. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kuminga follow him, and maybe a couple of those other younger guys that he's bet some chips on. But they say he's got a great relationship with Kerr, great relationship with Draymond, great relationship with Steph. So it's an interesting thing, but he's got to be leaving for a reason because they offered him a bunch of money.
Okay. He's going to be GM somewhere, though, right? You don't think?
Yeah.
Well, what if he knows that they really want LeBron and he doesn't want to be the guy who goes out and gets LeBron? Like he has something like, hey, I don't want to be this like we created this team organically. Yeah, we got Kevin Durant, but I don't want to be part of this superhero stuff. Like I don't want to be part of these super teams. Something's going on with him.
Something weird, yeah.
Because
maybe he just wants another challenge. Maybe he just likes the architecture of this stuff and just wants to go somewhere else where, he can build. Maybe
he knows. All right, listen, he's a former agent. I think something's up. I think LA might be swapping out GMs or the Clippers or something. He must know something's up. I think I'd be very skeptical. I'd watch and see what's happening with the Clippers and the Lakers to see if there's some movement in those management spots, because I could see him swooping in and being a GM for one of those teams. There's
a lot of things getting shaken
or
up.
New York.
A lot of players, a lot of coaches, and there's a lot of big names out there. So especially front office coaching type people, there's a lot to sort of build from in certain situations. But who knows, man? Ain't nothing going. This is so boring. Like you just get to a full stop and then just try to figure it out. Anyway, we'll keep you posted as soon as we know. But hang in there with us. You got anything else, Big Hawk?
Stay safe.
Stay safe, everybody, for crying out loud.